Out of all the many worlds Magic has introduced over its 25-plus year lifetime, none have come even close to being as loved as Ravnica. The 10 guilds and their respective ideologies allow any player to find a place within their world. I'd love to dive really deep into each guild and explain why they are the way they are, but that topic has been done ad nauseum everywhere. So instead I'm gonna milk the one thing my English degree is good for, analysis. We're gonna be analyzing the artwork in each of the cards from each respective guild and drawing conclusions from them. Although there has been a total of 3 different Ravnica blocks with a total of 9 sets, I'm going to be limiting these to the newest 3 for the sake of unity, clarity, and brevity. Also because the overall art styles of the guilds were revamped in the newest block, so with some, it's very different from its earlier incarnations. Anyway, let's begin first with the Cult of Rakdos. First off, take a look at this card, Bladebrand. As a player, what do you notice? The fact that it's a basic weak common? Do you notice the, although flashy, simplicity of the image? Even though it's juggling searing blades, it's kind of just a juggler, and they're everywhere for the Guild of Rakdos. So what would you say if I told you that out of every card in this set, this one card best represents all aspects of the Cult of Rakdos? But we'll come back to this card later, but for now, keep the flavor text in mind. The pain of searing iron and razor edges pales in comparison to the pleasure of performance. Judith. Here is every single Rakdos card depicting a character, nearly, named and unnamed. Take a second just to look at them. What sticks out? What emotions do these pieces convey to you? What kind of personalities do these characters possess? Before starting this video, I asked a few of my friends who have never played a game of Magic in their life those very same questions. And a few of the words they said were dangerous, crazed, psychotic, scary. Words I very much expected because they're easy to tie with the red and black color scheme, and you know, the insane number of knives and blades and fire and death in all their artworks. But the words they said which surprised me were intimidating, entertaining, and confident. Specifically confident. And I started looking at the cards a little deeper, trying to figure out how the artwork conveyed those emotions and personality traits, and I realized it's how the characters in the art pieces use non-verbal communication through their use of open body language. So, now what is open body language? Well, open body language is when you speak, walk, or just interact with other people, where as you're talking and moving around, you keep your chest and face out in the open exposed. To do this, you position your arms out and move them to keep them away from the rest of your body. You just move them out to the side or point to other people. Now, primally speaking, it tells those around you that you're willing to be vulnerable by exposing the part of your body that is all the vital organs in the chest and the stomach, because you're not really afraid of who you're interacting with. The YouTube channel Charisma on Command has multiple videos on this topic, and I'll link to one of them down below, the one that's on screen right now. Now, we're no longer living in a society where we fight each other on a regular basis, so the open vital organ message is no longer really needed. But it does translate into confidence and intimidation using modern societal responses to that body language. It's a difficult thing to do if you're not naturally confident, even when you're actively trying to do it. There are multiple videos online and speakers that go out and try to teach people how to use and behave with open body language. Now, a really good example of this in fiction is the character Gaston from Beauty and the Beast. Take a look at this little scene, and without any audio or context, just look at how he performs here. You can still tell that he is both confident and intimidating just by how his arms never block his body, except for when he's miming firing a crossbow. Other than that, when he's walking around, jumping, singing, his chest is always out in the open to everybody around him. And if you notice the other people, his admirers or his audience, they are also just they're not showing that same body language. They're kind of reserved, crossing their arms here, leaning on something. They're not as pronounced as Gaston is in this scene. Now, this kind of body language is also shown in on-stage performers. If you simply Google performer and scroll through some of the results, you'll see people in poses exposing their chest and face out to the audience. If you go to a concert, a lot of the times while singing, a performer will just open their arms out wide, and it'll just project the same level of confidence and security to their audience. Now, having said that, if we take a second look at Bladebrand, you can see if you isolate his body that the feeling of confidence is still there, highlighted here by breaking him down into the smallest basic shapes that you would have been sketching the painting to begin with. But that's not really the fascinating part of the specific piece. What's more fascinating is that this is the body language that is present in nearly every single Rakdos card in the set. No matter if they're performing, attacking, or simply walking into frame, they all portray the same open body language. This non-verbal communication, I believe, is the most important part connecting the theme and all their artwork. Sure, their logo, knives, and colors all connect them, but if you remove any one of those from a piece, it still feels Rakdos. It still feels confident, showboaty, performing. Now, keep all those and remove the body language, and you can tell right off the bat something is wrong. Here, let's look at a handful real quick. First off, Bedazzle. Right off the bat, this is the clearest example of open body language in any of the cards. Rakdos, the main guy of the whole guild, well, the leader of the guild, he has arms wide out, open, horizontal to the horizon line and perpendicular to his body. There is nothing covered at all. He's not even wearing any shirts, just wearing chains. Now if we look at the artwork for Blade Juggler, it's the exact same open stance. The arms are out to the side. Although the knives are being thrown, they're not really in focus. You can tell they're slightly blurry, a little bit of fading going on here. The main focus is on the face and the chest of the performer. They're open, they're wide, they're confident, and they're looking directly into the camera. All of this just ties back into the central theme of open body language. Here it is again in I don't know how to pronounce that. This card, again, this ogre is just in the middle of this weird rotating floor around his belt, and again, everything's exposed. Chest is exposed, everything, arms are up, holding something, same wide stance. Now, it's a little different here in Cult Guild Mage, because he's kind of hunched over, which kind of goes against it, but he's still very wide out open, keeping both hands away from his central body, keeping the elbows away from the waistline, and just kind of going perpendicular to everything else. Now, one of my favorite cards of this whole set, art-wise, is Hackerbat, because of just the really perplexing new perspective that's shown in this card, where you as a viewer aren't even on the stage, you're not like an audience member, you're like up on the high-rise looking down, you're part of like the crewman looking down on this performer. But here, the open body language is out even more. Now, the performer is a completely vulnerable state, just about to fall at any slight slip, and even her flavor text references how everybody in the audience wants to see her fall. But still, perfectly aligned, perfectly straight, looking up, not even caring that she's about to fall, chest out open, vulnerable, arms to the side, complete confidence through just her body language alone. Nothing else in this picture even needs to be there for you to receive that message. Now here in Macabre Mockery, you have not a public execution because this guy's been dead for a while. They just took his dead body up and are starting to parade it around in front of the other Orzhov guild members. But anyway, the two performers on the left and on the right holding the body up, again, they have that uncaring, just wide stand. They're facing like an army of people in front of them, although they're just regular people. I don't think they're soldiers. And they don't care. It's just that brilliant confidence being portrayed by just their body language, and you don't need any other context. This sentiment of confidence and intimidation, it got put out to people who don't even know who the Rakdos Guild is or who any of these characters are. The people that I asked, they had no idea who they were. They've never heard of any of these, never even saw the artwork before, and this confidence still completely went through to the audience. Now, I previously said that nearly every single one of the Rakdos Guild members has this connecting theme throughout the entire set. That's because there's one card, Fireblade Artist. And this is quite literally the single Rakdos Guild member featured on any card that not only doesn't show up in body language, but completely covers himself up. For starters, he crosses his arms and hides himself. From the background, we can see that he's not on a stage, he's not performing in the street, he's hiding in the shadows somewhere. If you were to change his color scheme, you wouldn't be able to tell that he's a Rakdos Guild member at all. He'd just be a random assassin in a corner somewhere. That wouldn't happen with any other card in the set. I mean, any other Rakdos card in the set. If you want an explanation, you can just say it's a Demir spy doing a very bad job fitting in. But regardless, it just fails on a fundamental thematic level to correctly portray a Rakdos Guild member. And it's honestly my most hated artwork in the entire set because of that. Now, to conclude, let's get back to Bladebrand and my statement of it being the best representation of the guild. Why not any of the other guild members, and why not Rakdos himself? Because at the end of the day, unlike other guilds whose guild master is a part of the guild, Rakdos isn't. It is the cult of Rakdos. The cult is what makes the guild. It's the everyday performers who just want to put on a show and escape all restrictions. They're just trying to get the attention of everybody around them. Rakdos isn't a performer. He's simply the most important audience member to the actual cult. It's as plain as it is in its flavor text. Entertain me. The cult's whole purpose is to entertain Rakdos and everybody around them. Looping back to Blighterbrand for one final time, it has all of the main thematic points of the Rakdos Guild. You have the red and black color scheme, the hazy, performant-like background with the random spikes and chain everywhere. He's performing something with sharp knives and molten steel, and he has that main body language shown, and all of them culminate to showing the lunacy, the craziness, the danger, the intimidation, the confidence that all makes up the cult of Rakdos.